I glanced at the clock in the corner of my monitor, 7:30 p.m. The fluorescent lights of the office hummed overhead, a stark contrast to the darkness outside. The only other sound was the relentless tapping of keyboards, a frantic symphony of looming deadlines. A sigh escaped me as I rubbed my temples. Overtime had become the new normal this week. Tonight, though, was a problem. I swiveled in my chair and peered over the partition. A small figure was curled up on a makeshift bed of office chairs, my suit jacket draped over her like a blanket. She was fast asleep. My 5-year-old daughter, Lily. My ex had packed up and moved out of state 3 months ago, leaving me with full custody and a 5-year-old size hole in my life. My parents were back in Ohio and couldn't help, and I just had to let our last babysitter go. When her daycare closed for the day, I had no choice but to bring Lily here with me. Hey, Ethan, still burning the midnight oil? Mark, from the next cubicle over, wandered by with a mug of coffee. His eyes fell on Lily, and his voice dropped to a whisper. Wow, she's out cold. You've got your hands full, man. I managed a weak smile. Tell me about it. Had no one to watch her. I get it. Single dads are basically superheroes. He clapped my shoulder, leaning in. Just be careful. You don't want the big boss to see. I think Ms. Davenport is still here tonight, and you know how she is about bringing kids to the office. Thinks it's unprofessional. A knot formed in my stomach. He was talking about Victoria Davenport, the founder and CEO of our company. She was in her early 30s, brilliant, driven, and legendarily cold. People called her the ice queen behind her back, and it wasn't a joke. It was a statement of fact, born out of a healthy dose of fear. She had, in fact, sent out a company-wide memo about maintaining a professional environment. I know. I'm just going to move her to the break room couch once she's really out, I said. Mark nodded and shuffled back to his desk. I tried to speed through the last few lines of code. On the chairs, Lily stirred, murmuring daddy in her sleep. Almost done, sweetie, I answered without turning around. Finally, I typed the last character, saved, and submitted my work. I let out a long breath and rolled my neck, feeling the vertebrae crackle. I stood up and walked quietly over to Lily, bending down to scoop her into my arms. That's when I heard it. The distinct, rhythmic click-clack of heels on the polished concrete floor getting closer. The sound was steady, unhurried, yet it carried an unmistakable weight. The low murmur of conversation and keyboard taps around the office seemed to drop in volume, as if someone had hit a mute button. A chill ran down my spine. No way. I froze, slowly turning my head. The glass door to our section of the office swung open and a woman walked in. She wore a tailored, light gray pantsuit that made her look tall and commanding. Her long dark hair was pulled back in a severe, elegant bun, revealing a flawless but frosty face. Sharp, intelligent eyes, a straight nose, and lips pressed into a thin, neutral line. She was looking down at a tablet in her hand as she walked. Victoria Davenport. She looked like she'd just come from a late meeting, carrying with her a faint, crisp scent of the cool night air. She seemed oblivious, or more likely, accustomed to the sudden hush her presence created. My brain short-circuited. My first instinct was to physically block the view of my daughter, but the move was so obvious it was pathetic. Her steady pace faltered for a half-second. Her gaze lifted from the tablet, swept past me, and then settled on the small, jacket-covered lump on the chairs behind me. Her brow furrowed just barely. My heart sank. I cleared my throat, forcing myself to speak. Ms. Davenport. She didn't respond. Instead, she walked right over, the sound of her heels stopping beside my desk. She looked at my sleeping daughter, then at the kid's water bottle and half-eaten bag of animal crackers on my desk. Mr. Vance, she said. Her voice, like the rest of her, was cool and devoid of warmth, but it wasn't sharp. It was just stating a fact. This office is not a daycare. I'm sorry, Ms. Davenport. I rushed to explain. It was a last-minute emergency. I couldn't find anyone to watch her. She's been perfectly quiet, and I was just about to. I never finished the sentence, because on the chairs, Lily, probably woken by our voices, sleepily opened her eyes. Her vision was blurry, her little cheeks flushed from sleep. She saw me first. Then her gaze drifted to the strange, beautiful woman standing next to me. The office was dead silent. Every person still here was pretending not to watch our little drama unfold. Lily blinked her big, brown eyes, staring at Victoria Davenport. Ms. Davenport looked down at the little girl who had suddenly appeared in her sterile, professional world. Her expression was unreadable, as if she were calculating the most efficient way to handle this breach of protocol. And then, before I could react, Lily sat up, blinked her big, sleepy eyes, and stretched two small arms towards Victoria Davenport. In a soft, stuffy voice, clear as a bell, she called out, "Mommy." Time stopped. I swear, it actually stopped for 2 full seconds. I was paralyzed. Mark's coffee mug clattered against his desk. I could practically feel the shocked and wildly entertained expressions of my coworkers. Even Victoria Davenport was visibly stunned. For the first time, I saw a clear crack in that icy professional mask. She stared at the little girl reaching for her, a flicker of something in her eyes, surprise, confusion, and a flash of profound awkwardness. My soul left my body. I snatched Lily up into my arms. "Lily, don't say that. This is Ms. Davenport. She's not Mommy." Lily was still groggy from her nap. Her little lip trembled as she looked past me, her dark eyes still fixed on Victoria. "Is Mommy," she mumbled stubbornly. Kids say the darndest things, but in an office so quiet you could hear a pin drop, it was the equivalent of a nuclear bomb. My scalp was tingling. I didn't dare look at my CEO's face. I just kept apologizing. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Davenport. She's just woken up. She's confused. I'm so sorry. I'm taking her home right now." Victoria was silent for what felt like an eternity. When I finally chanced to look, the crack in her mask was gone, replaced by her usual calm composure. She glanced at my mortified face, then at Lily, who was still peeking at her from the safety of my arms. "Is your work done?" she asked, her tone giving nothing away. "Yes, all done. I just submitted it," I answered quickly. "Good." She gave a curt nod, said nothing more, and turned, continuing on toward her corner office. The click-clack of her heels started up again, as if the whole bizarre incident had never happened. It wasn't until her office door clicked shut that I felt like I could breathe again. I sank into my chair, still holding a bewildered Lily, a cold sweat breaking out on my back. "Holy crap, Ethan," Mark whispered, creeping over. "Your kid really knows how to pick him. I thought Miss Davenport was going to fire you on the spot. I thought I was going to be packing my desk tonight," I muttered, gently pinching Lily's nose. "You little lady are going to give your daddy a heart attack." Lily just looked up at me, confused, then glanced at the closed office door. "That pretty lady isn't my mommy?" she asked quietly. "No, sweetie, she's not," I sighed. "From now on, if you see her, you call her Ms. Davenport, okay?" "Okay," Lily mumbled, snuggling into my chest. I quickly packed our things. As we left the office, I couldn't help but glance toward the CEO's office. The frosted glass glowed from within, and I could just make out her silhouette. My stomach was in knots. Was that the end of it? Or was I going to pay for this later? I spent the next 2 days walking on eggshells. Luckily, Victoria Davenport was apparently swamped. She never appeared in our section of the office. The project moved forward. No one from HR called me into their office, and gradually, I started to relax. I figured a woman running a company this size had more important things to worry about than a 5-year-old's case of mistaken identity. I found an after-school program near our apartment for Lily. It wasn't cheap, but it was a whole lot better than risking another incident at the office. Friday afternoon, our team had a progress meeting for Project Nebula. I was scheduled to present the core module I'd been working on. The meeting was in the big conference room on the 10th floor. I got there 5 minutes early. The room was already filling up with project managers, department heads, and key developers. I found a seat near the back and fired up my laptop. A few minutes later, the door opened again. Victoria Davenport walked in. Today she was wearing a white silk blouse and black high-waisted trousers, still minimalist and chic. The room immediately fell silent, and everyone sat up a little straighter. She took her seat at the head of the table, her assistant beside her. The meeting began. One by one, team leads gave their reports. I listened, mentally rehearsing my own presentation. When my turn came, I took a deep breath, walked to the front, and plugged in my laptop. "Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be walking you through the current status of the data interface module for Project Nebula." I launched into my presentation, trying to keep my delivery smooth and to the point. Once I got to the technical challenges and our solutions, I started to relax. This was my turf. I knew my stuff. Victoria listened quietly, occasionally jotting a note on her tablet, her expression neutral. I was nearing the end, about to give my summary. Just then, there was a soft knock on the conference room door before it creaked open. A little head poked through the gap. The words died in my throat. It was Lily. Her after-school program teacher stood behind her, looking apologetic and panicked. "Mr. Vance, I am so sorry to interrupt," the teacher whispered frantically. Lily kept saying her stomach hurt and was crying for her daddy. We were worried it might be serious, so we brought her to the address on her file. Every head in the room swiveled from me to the tiny intruder at the door, and then, inevitably, to Victoria Davenport at the head of the table. My scalp tingled again. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. Lily saw me, her eyes red and teary. "Daddy!" she cried, pulling away from her teacher and running toward me. I immediately crouched down to catch her. "Lily, honey, what's wrong? What does it hurt?" "My tummy hurts," she whimpered, burying her face in my shoulder. The atmosphere in the room was painfully awkward. The project manager cleared his throat and looked to Victoria. "Ms. Davenport." Victoria set down her pen. She looked at me and my daughter, her gaze lingering for a moment on Lily's tear-streaked face. "Meeting paused for 10 minutes, she announced, her voice calm. "Mr. Vance, take care of your daughter." Relief washed over me. "Thank you, Ms. Davenport." I managed scooping Lily up and hurrying out of the room, the teacher trailing behind me. In the hallway, the teacher explained that Lily had probably eaten something that disagreed with her. It wasn't serious, but being in a new environment, she'd gotten scared and just wanted her dad. I got Lily some warm water and rubbed her back for a few minutes, and she started to calm down, clinging to me. "I want to go home, Daddy," she whispered. I looked at the clock, thinking of the unfinished meeting, my head pounding. "Mr. Vance, I can take her back to the center if you need to finish," the teacher offered. Lily immediately tightened her grip on my neck. "No, I want Daddy." I was torn. Just then, the door to the break room opened. It was Victoria's assistant. "Mr. Vance, Ms. Davenport said that if your presentation is finished, you can take your daughter home. She'll review the rest of the meeting minutes." I was stunned. My part was basically done. "Please, thank her for me." The assistant nodded and left. A complicated feeling churned inside me. The way Victoria handled this was incredibly reasonable, almost compassionate. It didn't fit with my image of the Ice Queen at all. After reassuring the teacher, I grabbed my things from my desk, Lily still in my arms. As I passed the conference room, the door was closed, the meeting apparently back in session. I glanced at the door, my perception of Victoria Davenport quietly shifting. Over the weekend, I took Lily to a pediatrician just in case. It was just minor indigestion. I was hugely relieved. Monday morning, I ran into Victoria in the elevator. It was just the two of us. The air in the small space felt thick and heavy. I stood by the door while she stood in the back, her eyes fixed on the floor numbers as they lit up. "Is your daughter feeling better?" she asked suddenly. It took me a second to realize she was talking to me. "Oh, yes, much better. Thank you for asking, Miss Davenport. It was just a little indigestion, and I'm really sorry about Friday, for interrupting the meeting." "It's fine," she said, and that was it. The elevator dinged our floor, and the doors slid open. She walked out first. I watched her walk away, thinking that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't completely heartless after all. Life settled down for a week. I finally found a new babysitter, a woman in her 50s named Mrs. Gable, who lived in our neighborhood. She was efficient, kind, and Lily seemed to like her. A huge weight lifted off my shoulders, and I could focus on my work again. Project Nebula was entering a critical integration phase, and the whole tech department was slammed. As one of the core developers, late nights became my norm again. At least now I had Mrs. Gable, so I wasn't constantly scrambling. One night around 9, I was at my desk with 2 colleagues, wrestling with a stubborn bug. The office was mostly empty and quiet. My phone buzzed. It was Mrs. Gable. "Mr. Vance, I'm so sorry," she said, her voice frantic. "I just got a call from home. My husband took a fall. I have to get over there right now. I've already put Lily to bed, but can you get back as soon as possible? Or is there a friend or relative who could cover?" My stomach dropped. My parents were states away, and it was too late to call any of my friends. "Don't worry, Mrs. Gable, you go. Family first. I'm on my way home right now." I hung up, gave my colleagues a quick update, and grabbed my jacket. I sprinted to the elevators just as a set of doors was closing. "Hold the elevator," I yelled, and a hand shot out to stop the doors. I rushed in, breathless. "Thanks," I panted, looking up. I froze. Standing there was Victoria Davenport. She seemed to have been working late, too, a file in her hand. She looked at me, a flicker of surprise on her face at my harried state. "Ms. Davenport," I said, my voice tight with awkwardness. She nodded. As the elevator descended, I could smell a faint, clean perfume. I stared at the changing numbers, my mind racing. A cab ride home would be 20 minutes, tops. Lily was a deep sleeper. She'd be fine. An emergency? Victoria asked suddenly. Yeah, I said. The babysitter had to leave unexpectedly. My daughter's asleep at home alone. I need to get back. She glanced at me, but said nothing. The elevator arrived at the underground parking garage. The doors opened. "Have a good night, Ms. Davenport," I said, about to bolt. "Wait," she called out. I stopped, turning back in confusion. She seemed to hesitate for a fraction of a second. "It's hard to get a cab from here this time of night. I can give you a ride. It's on my way." I was completely floored. Victoria Davenport was offering me a ride home? This was more shocking than when Lily had called her mommy. "Oh no, Ms. Davenport," I couldn't ask. "That's too much trouble. I'll just get a ride share." I stammered. "Taxis are scarce after rush hour, and you'll be waiting for an Uber," she said, her tone flat, as if simply stating facts. "Your daughter is alone. The faster you get there, the better. My car is right over there." She was already walking toward a sleek, dark gray sedan. It was understated, but I recognized the logo. It was expensive. She had a point. Arguing would be stupid, and I was in a hurry. I jogged to catch up. "Well, thank you, Ms. Davenport. I really appreciate it." I slipped into the passenger seat. The interior was spotless and carried the same faint, cool scent she wore. I gave her my address. She plugged it into the navigation and pulled smoothly out of the garage. She was a calm, focused driver and didn't say much. I sat ramrod straight, feeling more nervous than I did in board meetings. I tried to make small talk. "Working late tonight, too?" "Reviewing a contract," she replied curtly. Silence fell again. I watched the neon lights of the city blur past, my thoughts on Lily. "Your daughter," Victoria said, breaking the silence. "Her name is Lily?" "Yes." "Lily Vance," I answered immediately. "It's a nice name," she said, her eyes on the road. She seemed very upset at the meeting the other day. "Yeah, kids have sensitive stomachs. She's all better now." I paused, then said with sincerity, "And thank you again for being so understanding about that." "It was nothing." She hit the turn signal. How old is she?" 5 and 3 months. "I see." Another silence, but this one felt less tense. The car pulled into my apartment complex. It was a decent middle-class place, a little dated. She followed my directions and parked in front of my building. "Thank you so much, Ms. Davenport." "I can't thank you enough," I said, unbuckling my seatbelt. "Don't mention it," she replied. I got out, closed the door, and gave a small wave. She nodded, and the car pulled away. I watched her taillights disappear around the corner, that strange feeling returning. The Victoria Davenport of tonight seemed worlds away from the remote, untouchable CEO at the office. I shook my head and ran for my building. No time to think about that now. Lily was what mattered. I quietly unlocked the door. The apartment was silent. Tiptoeing to her bedroom, I pushed the door open a crack. The little nightlight was on, casting a soft glow. Lily was curled up in bed, hugging her stuffed rabbit, fast asleep, her cheeks rosy. A long, slow breath escaped me. The knot of anxiety in my chest finally loosened. I closed her door and slumped onto the living room couch. My phone lit up with a monthly credit card bill reminder. I stared at the number and rubbed the bridge of my nose. Life as a single dad wasn't easy. The financial pressure, the emotional drain, it was a constant battle. My ex was supposed to send child support, but it was sporadic at best. I couldn't count on anyone else. It was all on me. But every time I saw Lily's carefree smile, I knew it was all worth it. It was only in quiet moments like this, late at night and bone-tired, that a wave of loneliness would wash over me. The apartment was too quiet. I thought of Victoria's profile in the car as she asked about Lily. The streetlights had cast fleeting shadows across her face, and for a second, her sharp features had seemed to soften. I shook my head, dismissing the thought. She was the CEO. We lived in different universes. Tonight's ride was just a rare act of kindness, nothing more. I got up to get ready for bed. Tomorrow was another day, another fight. The next morning, after dropping Lily at daycare, I got to the office on time. I just sat down when my desk phone rang. It was the CEO's office. Ms. Davenport wanted to see me. My stomach lurched. The warmth from last night's unexpected kindness vanished, replaced by cold, professional reality. Was I in trouble for my work performance? Was something wrong with the project? With a sense of dread, I rode the elevator to the top floor. Victoria's office was spacious and bright, with a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the city. She was at her desk, looking at her computer. "Come in," she said without looking up. "Ms. Davenport, you wanted to see me?" I asked, stepping inside. Her eyes lifted from the screen. She gestured to the chair opposite her desk. "Seat." I sat, my back straight, waiting for the verdict. She closed her laptop and folded her hands on the desk. It was a gesture that made me even more nervous. It meant business, or a reprimand. "Mr. Vance, your work on the Nebula project has been excellent," she began, and I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "Thank you, Ms. Davenport. I'm just doing my job. Our head of engineering, Mr. Thompson, is transferring to the corporate headquarters next month. His deputy will be taking his place." Her tone shifted, becoming flat and neutral. "That leaves the deputy head position open. We'll be filling it internally. Your direct supervisor recommended you for consideration." "Ist the Herr Stund, deputy head of engineering?" That was a mid-level management position, a huge jump in salary and responsibility. I hadn't seen this coming at all. "Me?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Yes. I've reviewed your performance reports and your project history. You meet the qualifications." She looked at me intently. "But this role requires more than just technical skill. It demands team management and cross-departmental coordination. Your experience has been primarily technical." I understood. It was an opportunity, but not a handout. I had to prove I could handle it. "Understand, Ms. Davenport. If given a chance, I'll work hard to meet those expectations," I said carefully. She nodded. "HR will announce the application process shortly. I'm telling you now, so you can prepare." She paused, then added, "Prepare well. The company values competence, but we also value stability and responsibility in our leadership. Make sure your domestic situation is stable. It can't interfere with your work." That last sentence brought me back down to earth. I heard the subtext loud and clear. This is your chance, but don't screw it up by letting your family life become a problem again. "Understand completely. Thank you for the heads up, Ms. Davenport. I'll make sure everything is handled," I said with renewed determination. Leaving her office, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. I desperately wanted that promotion. It would mean a better life for Lily. But the pressure was immense, and Victoria's final words were both a warning and a promise. Back at my desk, Mark sidled over. "The Ice Queen summons you." "Good news." I kept it vague. "Just a project update." He didn't press, changing the subject. "Hey, did you know she's single?" Like completely. My hands froze over my keyboard. "What do you mean?" "Never heard a whisper about a boyfriend, a husband, nothing. It's wild, a woman that powerful and beautiful. But I guess it makes sense," he mused in a low voice. "Who could handle that personality? She probably only has eyes for her work." I didn't reply. I thought of our brief conversation in her car, and the way her expression had softened, just for a second, when she asked about Lily's age. Maybe I thought that wasn't the whole story. The official announcement for the position came out a few days later. I submitted my application and threw myself into preparing my proposal, which had to outline my management philosophy and plans for the department. It was a whole new challenge. I was busier than ever, working late on my proposal while keeping up with Project Nebula. Thankfully, Mrs. Gable's family situation stabilized, and she was a rock, which allowed me to focus. On Friday, when I picked Lily up from daycare, her teacher reminded me about a parent-child activity day the following Wednesday. There'd be games and crafts. "Will Lily's mom be able to make it?" the teacher asked delicately. I smiled. "It'll just be me." She nodded, understanding. That night, while Lily and I were working on a puzzle, I thought about the event. I would be there, of course, but I always felt a pang of guilt for Lily in those dads-only situations. She was a trooper and never complained, but I could see the flicker of envy in her eyes when she saw other kids with both their parents. Hey, sweetie, that school thing on Wednesday? Daddy's going to be there to play with you, okay? I said. Yay, she cheered. Then she tilted her head. Daddy, can we ask the pretty lady to come too? I paused. Which pretty lady? The one at your work. The one I called Mommy. I almost choked. That's Ms. Davenport, Lily, not Mommy. She's very, very busy with her work. She can't come. Oh, her face fell, and she went back to her puzzle. I stroked her hair, sighing. I had no idea that this innocent comment would come back in a very unexpected way. The night before the proposal was due, I was in the office until almost 11 p.m., polishing every last detail. Finally satisfied, I saved the document, shot it off in an email, and leaned back in my chair exhausted. My stomach rumbled. I'd barely touched my dinner. The office was empty and dark, except for the light over my desk. I was about to pack up and head home to a sad bowl of instant ramen. As I stood up, I noticed the light was still on in the executive suite. Was Victoria still here? I didn't think much of it as I grabbed my things. Walking past the break room, I smelled food. I paused, and on a strange impulse, I glanced inside. There, at one of the small tables, sat Victoria Davenport. An open takeout container was in front of her, but she wasn't eating. She was just staring at it, looking lost in thought. The warm, yellow light softened her features, making her look less like a powerhouse CEO and more tired, lonely even. I was standing in the shadows of the hallway, unsure whether to retreat or go in. As if sensing me, she looked up and our eyes met. I had no choice but to walk in. Ms. Davenport, still here. Finishing up, she said, her gaze dropping. You too. Just submitted my proposal, I said. I glanced at her untouched food. That's a late dinner. Not very hungry, she admitted, putting down her fork and rubbing her brow. I saw a box of stomach medicine next to her takeout. I'd heard rumors she had chronic stomach problems from her insane work schedule and irregular meals. You should eat something. It's bad for your stomach, I said, and then immediately felt like I'd overstepped. She didn't reply right away. After a moment of silence, she asked, your proposal. What was the main thrust of your argument? I was surprised by the question, but I summarized my key points about improving team efficiency and quality control. She listened, nodding occasionally. When I finished, she offered a single piece of feedback. The concept is sound. The implementation details need to be more concrete. Right. I'll keep working on it, I said. The break room fell silent again. The atmosphere was strange. I knew I should leave, but seeing her there with her cold food and medicine, I felt rooted to the spot. Ms. Davenport, maybe you should have something hot. There's a soup and sandwich place downstairs that delivers late. It would be better for your stomach, I suggested, cringing internally at how forward I was being. She looked up at me, her expression unreadable. Just as I was expecting a cold dismissal, she gave a slight nod. Okay. I pulled out my phone. What kind of soup do you like? I can order for you. Anything. Something plain, she said. I ordered 2 chicken noodle soups and a side of crackers. While we waited, neither of us spoke. She leaned back and closed her eyes, and I pretended to be busy on my phone to avoid the awkwardness. The food arrived quickly. The smell of hot soup filled the small room. I placed one container in front of her and opened my own. I was starving. She picked up her spoon and took a slow, deliberate sip. Thank you, she said. You're welcome. The warm soup was a balm to my empty stomach. We ate in silence. The tension that usually defined our interactions as boss and employee seemed to melt away in the steam rising from our soup bowls. I thought about Lily's innocent question. I looked at Victoria, her profile softened by the low light. The untouchable, inhumanly perfect CEO of my company was, at this moment, just a person working too late, tired with an upset stomach. A ridiculous thought crossed my mind. If Lily saw her now, would she call her mommy again? The thought sent a strange jolt through me, and I quickly pushed it away. What was I thinking? The day of the school event, I took a half day off work. The daycare was buzzing with a happy chaos of kids and parents. I held Lily's hand as we made our way through the games. She was having the time of her life, her cheeks flushed with excitement. During the craft session, we had to make a little clay sculpture together. I'm clumsy with my hands, and our clay bear came out lopsided and misshapen, but Lily treated it like a masterpiece. Daddy made the bestest bear, she declared, holding it up proudly. Seeing her so happy made my heart swell. In that moment, all the stress and exhaustion just melted away. As the event was winding down, I struck up a conversation with one of Lily's classmates' mothers. She was chatty and friendly. "It must be so hard doing this all on your own, Mr. Vance," she said, lowering her voice. "Is Lily's mom working out of town?" "Something like that," I said with a tight smile. "Well, being a single dad is tough," she continued, completely missing my discomfort. "Have you thought about dating again? It would be nice to have someone to help out, and it's good for the kids, too." "I'm not really thinking about that right now," I said, trying to steer the conversation elsewhere. "My focus is on Lily." Of course. "Can't rush fate," she chirped. "But you're a great catch. Stable job, good with kids. You'll find someone." Just then, Lily ran up and tugged on my hand. "Daddy, I'm festy." I used it as my escape, bidding the woman a hasty goodbye. On the way home, Lily was hugging her lopsided bear when she suddenly asked, "Daddy, what does find someone mean?" I was taken aback that she'd been listening. It means finding a new lady. A lady to be like a mommy and help Daddy take care of you. "Like Ms. Davenport?" she asked, her eyes wide. I nearly swerved. "No, not Lily. Ms. Davenport is my boss. She's not that kind of lady." "Oh," she said, clearly not understanding. "But I like Ms. Davenport." I just ruffled her hair. A child's logic is simple, but I knew the truth. Victoria Davenport and I were two parallel lines, destined never to cross. Our few moments of connection were just flukes, anomalies that didn't change the vast chasm between our worlds. The following week, it was time for the final interview for the deputy head position. I was up against a few other candidates. I presented my proposal to a panel of senior executives, including Victoria. I did my best, staying calm and articulate. I could see Victoria looking down at my printed proposal for most of it, her face giving nothing away. A week later, I was called in my boss's office. He told me that they had decided to give the position to another candidate, someone with more seniority and management experience. "Your time will come, Ethan," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. "You have the skills. Just need a little more time in the oven." I had braced myself for it, but it still stung. "I understand. Thank you." When I got back to my desk, Mark gave me a questioning look. I just shook my head. Tough break, man," he said sympathetically. "Don't worry about it. The guy who got it has been here forever. It was probably political anyway." I didn't say anything. I just buried myself in my work. Life goes on. Just before 5, I got a call from the CEO's office. "Ms. Davenport wanted to see me before I left." Great, I thought. Probably the official better luck next time speech. When I entered her office, she was alone. She motioned for me to sit. "You heard about the promotion?" she asked, straight to the point. "Yes, my manager told me, and I accept the company's decision. I'll continue to do my best in my current role," I recited, like a good little corporate soldier. She tapped her fingers on the desk. "Your proposal was technically sound. Your ideas had merit, but your management and risk assessment sections were weak. They lacked practical experience." I nodded. "I know. That's something I need to work on." "The company is launching a new initiative," she said, changing gears. "Project Aurora. It's an AI-driven educational companion for young children. It's a top priority, and I'll be overseeing it directly. I'm putting together a small, core team." My heart skipped a beat. "I want you on that team," she said, looking me directly in the eye. "You'll be in charge of the back-end architecture and key algorithm development. This project will require close collaboration with the product, design, and marketing teams. It will be an excellent opportunity for you to gain the experience you're lacking. If you succeed, it will be a significant achievement on your record." I was speechless. This wasn't a promotion, but it was something better. It was a vote of confidence, a real opportunity. I never expected this after failing to get the other job. "Ms. Davenport, are you up for the challenge?" she asked. "Yes, absolutely yes," I said, my voice filled with a new energy. "Thank you for this chance. I won't let you down." She gave a nearly imperceptible nod. "We'll discuss the details at the kickoff meeting. You can go." I stood, but paused at the door. I turned back. "Thank you, Ms. Davenport. Really?" She looked up from her files and gave me a slight nod in return. Walking out of her office, the disappointment from before was replaced with a surge of adrenaline. I had a feeling this opportunity wasn't just a corporate calculation. Was it because of the soup in the break room? Or was it because of Lily? Whatever the reason, I was going to grab this chance with both hands. A few days later, the Project Aurora kickoff meeting was held, with Victoria herself leading it. She was in her element, laying out the vision with a clarity and passion that was infectious. Toward the end, she stressed the importance of user research. Especially with a product for children, we need to understand their real-world needs and emotions. We can't just guess. Her eyes scanned the room and landed on me. Mr. Vance, you have a daughter in the target age range, correct? I nodded, surprised. Yes, she's 5. Good, Victoria said. For some of our initial prototype testing, we may need you and your daughter to participate to provide authentic user feedback. It will be considered part of your work hours, and you'll be compensated accordingly. The rest of the team looked at me. In one swift move, she had turned my biggest professional liability, being a single dad, into a unique asset for her pet project. Of course, Ms. Davenport. We'd be happy to help, I said. Excellent. The product manager will coordinate with you. After the meeting, I felt a strange sense of awe. Victoria Davenport was playing chess while the rest of us were playing checkers. She gave you an opportunity, loaded you with responsibility, and even found a way to leverage your personal life for the good of the company. But for me and Lily, this was nothing but good news. Project Aurora kicked into high gear. As promised, I started bringing Lily in for short, informal testing sessions. The product manager, a young, energetic woman named Amy, designed fun little games to get Lily's reactions to different colors, characters, and sounds. Lily thought it was the best game ever. One day, Amy asked her, Lily, do you like our little robot friend, Sparky? I love him, Lily chirped. Then she added with perfect 5-year-old logic, but I'd love him even more if he was pretty like Ms. Davenport. Amy burst out laughing. I just shook my head in exasperation. The story made the rounds, and I started getting good-natured ribbing from my colleagues. It was embarrassing, but what could I do? The project was intense, and Victoria was deeply involved. She attended our weekly progress meetings, her questions always sharp and insightful. Working under her direct supervision was demanding, but I was learning more than I ever had before. She was tough, but she was fair, and she always gave credit where it was due. One Wednesday afternoon, after a testing session with Lily, it was already close to quitting time. I decided to just head home. As we were leaving the building, I saw the familiar gray sedan parked at the curb. The window rolled down. It was Victoria. Mr. Vance, she called out. I walked over, holding Lily's hand. Ms. Davenport. Lily beamed. Montserrat. Davenport. A flicker of warmth crossed Victoria's face. She nodded at Lily, then looked at me. I had a few questions about the performance metrics for the back-end architecture. Do you have a moment to discuss it? I glanced at Lily. I do, but... Bring her, Victoria said simply. There's a quiet coffee shop up the street. So, Lily and I climbed into the back of her car. It was less awkward this time, but I still felt a strange tension as I watched her profile in a rearview mirror. At the coffee shop, Victoria ordered a hot chocolate and a brownie for Lily before we dove into work. She grilled me on concurrency handling and data security. We were so engrossed we started sketching diagrams on napkins. Lily sat beside us, happily eating her brownie, watching us with her big, curious eyes. When we finished, Victoria took a sip of her coffee, seemingly satisfied with my answers. Just then, Lily held up her half-eaten brownie. Ms. Davenport, this is yummy. Do you want a bite? Lily, don't bother, Ms. Davenport, I started to say, but Victoria looked at Lily's earnest, chocolate-smudged face. After a beat, she leaned forward and took a tiny, delicate bite from the corner of the brownie Lily was holding. You're right, she said, her voice soft. It's very good. Lily giggled, delighted. I watched the exchange, a strange, warm feeling spreading through my chest. This simple act was so far outside the bounds of who I thought Victoria Davenport was. I could have sworn I saw the corner of her mouth twitch into a tiny smile. Thank you for sharing, Victoria told Lily. You're welcome, Lily said grandly. It was dark by the time we left. Victoria drove us home again. Lily, exhausted, fell asleep in my arms. At a red light, Victoria glanced in the rearview mirror. She's asleep? She asked quietly. Just about, I whispered, shifting to make Lily more comfortable. The car was quiet except for the soft classical music on the radio. A sense of peace settled over me. She really likes you, I said, looking down at my daughter's sleeping face. Victoria's hands tightened slightly on the steering wheel. Kids are smart, I continued. They know when someone is genuinely kind to them. Thank you for being so patient with her. She was silent for a few moments. She's a wonderful little girl, she said, her voice lower than usual. Then she added, you've done a great job with her. Her words warmed me more than I could say. Thank you. She dropped us off at our building. I got out holding Lily. Thank you again. Of course. Be prepared to defend your data models at the weekly meeting, she said, already slipping back into CEO mode. Will do, Ms. Davenport. As I watched her drive away, I knew I was in dangerous territory. The woman I was getting to know was a far cry from the Ice Queen of office legend. And I couldn't deny that a part of me, a part one had thought long dead, was stirring back to life. Project Aurora intensified, and so did my life. Mrs. Gable, our babysitter, started having a string of family emergencies, forcing me to constantly juggle my schedule. One afternoon, I was in a critical technical review meeting when my phone started vibrating nonstop in my pocket. I ignored it. During a short break, I pulled it out and my blood ran cold. More than a dozen missed calls from Mrs. Gable and Lily's daycare. I rushed into the hall and called the daycare. Mr. Vance. Thank goodness, the director said, her voice laced with panic. Lily has a fever. It's over 101. She's been crying for you. We can't reach the babysitter. Can you get here right away? She needs to see a doctor. My mind went blank. I'm on my way. I burst back into the conference room, strode right up to Victoria, and quickly explained the situation in a low voice. She looked up from the presentation, her brow furrowed. Meeting paused, she announced to the room. She stood up and walked out with me. Where is she? She asked, her tone crisp and efficient. At her daycare. She has a high fever. I'll drive you. She was already heading for the elevator. Ms. Davenport, you don't have to. I can get a cab. It's rush hour. I'll be faster, she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. A sick child can't wait. In the car, I tried calling Mrs. Gable again. Still no answer. I was sweating, my leg bouncing with anxiety. Victoria drove with a focused intensity, navigating the heavy traffic with practiced skill. When we got to the daycare, Lily was waiting by the door, her face flushed, her eyes glassy with fever. Daddy, she whimpered as I swept her into my arms. I don't feel good. I know, sweetie, I know. We're going to the doctor. Victoria had already turned the car around, the back door open for us. Children's Hospital, it's the closest, I said, climbing in. She just nodded and sped off. The trip to the hospital was a blur of Lily's whimpers and my frantic attempts to comfort her. Through it all, Victoria was a silent, steady presence behind the wheel. At the emergency room, I rushed in with Lily while Victoria went to park. After check-in, the doctor confirmed it was a nasty viral infection and said Lily needed fluids. I handled the paperwork and payments while Victoria quietly found the infusion room. Lily was scared of the four, and I held her tight as the nurse put it in, my own heart aching. Finally, with the drip started, Lily fell into a restless sleep in my arms. Only then did I remember Victoria. She was standing nearby, looking completely out of place in her sharp business attire amidst the chaos of a pediatric ward. Ms. Davenport, thank you. You've done more than enough, I said, my voice thick with gratitude. You should go. I can handle it from here. She looked at Lily, sleeping fitfully with a cooling patch on her forehead. Have you been able to reach your babysitter? I shook my head. You're here alone for the night? I'll be fine. I'll take a few days off to be with her. She surveyed the noisy, crowded room, then seemed to make a decision. I'll be right back, she said and walked out. 20 minutes later, she returned with a bag. She sat down next to me and pulled out a thermos. Warm water. You look dehydrated. I took it, stunned. Thank you. Next, she took out a small, soft fleece blanket and gently tucked it around Lily. The AC in here is cold, she explained. Then, she placed a sandwich and a bottle of juice on the seat beside me. You haven't eaten. I stared at the items, a lump forming in my throat. Ms. Davenport, you really don't have to do all this. It was on the way, she said, cutting me off, her gaze on Lily. She'll need to stay hydrated. The thermos is new. I held the warm thermos in my hands, the heat seeping into my skin, into my soul. I looked at her calm profile and realized, with a sudden, shocking clarity, that this cool, reserved woman was one of the kindest people I had ever met. She didn't offer empty words. She solved problems. "Thank you," was all I could manage to say, but the words were heavier than any I'd ever spoken. She just gave a tiny shake of her head. We sat there for hours side by side, watching over a sleeping child. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was comfortable, a shared space of quiet support. I watched her discreetly answer work emails on her phone, the screen's glow illuminating her face. Stripped of her corporate armor, she looked tired, but also more real, more human than I had ever seen her. Something inside me shifted, a tectonic plate grinding into a new position. I knew, with absolute certainty, that things were different now. After Lily's 4 was finished, her fever had dropped. As we left the hospital, Victoria drove us home. At my building, she got out and handed me the bag with the blanket and thermos. "Keep an eye on her temperature," she said. "I will. Tonight. I don't know how to thank you. Go on inside. It's getting cold," she said before getting back in her car. I watched her drive off, then carry my sleeping daughter upstairs. That night, a decision solidified in my heart. Lily was sick for 3 days. Victoria approved my request to work from home without a second thought. When Lily was finally better, she had one question. "Daddy, was it Ms. Davenport who took us to the hospital?" "Yes, sweetie. She helped us a lot." "She's really nice," Lily said. "Can we invite her over for dinner to say thank you?" Her request mirrored the one forming in my own mind. So, after our next project meeting, I took a deep breath and asked, "Ms. Davenport." Lily was wondering, and I was wondering too, if you might be free to come over for a simple dinner sometime, as a thank you for everything. She paused, her eyes meeting mine. I rushed to give her an out. "Of course, you're busy, no pressure at all. It was just an idea." "When?" she asked. I blinked. "When would be a good time?" she repeated calmly. A slow smile spread across my face. "How about this Saturday?" "Saturday is good," she said. That Saturday, our small apartment was filled with an air of excited anticipation. Lily laid out her best toys and drew a picture to give to our guest. When the doorbell rang, Victoria was standing there, not in a power suit, but in a soft cream-colored sweater and jeans, her hair down. She looked beautiful. She'd brought a basket of fruit and a box of chocolates for Lily. The dinner was surprisingly easy. We talked about work, about movies, about life. Lily chattered away, and Victoria listened patiently, a small, genuine smile gracing her lips. For the first time, I saw the woman behind the CEO, and I was completely captivated. After dinner, I found her in the living room, reading a picture book to Lily, who was snuggled up against her side. The scene was so perfect, so right, it stole my breath. Later, as I walked her to her car, I took a chance. "You know, you're welcome here anytime." She looked at me, her eyes shining in the dim light. "I'd like that," she said softly. And so it began. We started spending more time together, often with Lily as our happy little chaperone. We went to parks, museums, and movies. I learned about her lonely childhood, and she learned about the chaotic, love-filled life of a single dad. We were from different worlds, but somehow we fit. The turning point came at the company's annual gala. I was standing on the terrace, getting some air when she joined me. She was stunning in a champagne-colored evening gown, but she looked tired. "I always hated these things as a kid," she said quietly, staring out at the city lights. "My parents were always busy with events like this. They thought providing me with the best of everything was enough." Her voice was wistful. I never really knew what a warm, normal home was supposed to feel like. Until recently, she turned to face me, her gaze direct and unflinching. "Ethan," she said using my first name, "do you think there's a possibility for something more between us?" The world seemed to fall away. All my doubts and insecurities vanished in the face of her breathtaking honesty. "Yes," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "I've been hoping there was." A radiant smile transformed her face, melting away the last remnants of the Ice Queen. "Good," she said. Our relationship wasn't a secret, but we kept it discreet. The office gossip was inevitable, but Victoria shut it down with her typical efficiency, publicly praising my contributions to Project Aurora's wild success. My promotion to deputy head of engineering came soon after, earned and deserved. Her parents were another story. They did not approve. But Victoria was firm. He and Lily are my family now, she told them. This is my choice. A year after that first, fateful encounter in the office, I found myself in a sunny park with Victoria and Lily. Lily was flying a kite, her laughter carrying on the breeze. I turned to Victoria. A year ago, I said, my life was a complete mess. She smiled. And now, I said, pulling a small box from my pocket and getting down on one knee, I want to spend the rest of my life in this beautiful mess with you. Her eyes filled with tears as I opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring. Lily came running over, her eyes wide with excitement. Victoria, I said, my voice thick with emotion, you and Lily are the best things that have ever happened to me. Will you marry me? Yes, she whispered, her voice choked with happy tears. Of course, yes. I slid the ring on her finger as Lily cheered, jumping up and down. Yay, Mommy is going to be my real mommy forever. Victoria scooped her up, kissing her cheek. Then she looked at me, her eyes shining with a love so profound it took my breath away. I already am, she said. Our wedding was a small, intimate affair on a beautiful lawn overlooking the ocean. Lily was our flower girl, beaming with pride. As I watched Victoria walk towards me, I knew that all the struggles, all the late nights, all the moments of doubt and fear had been leading me here. To her, to our family. Life would still be complicated. It would still be messy. But now, it was a mess we would face together. And I wouldn't have it any other way.